Hey everybody, Pastor Hans here, and regardless of where you are at today, whether you find yourself at home, maybe you're on a device, or you're listening in the car, or maybe you're with one of our partner churches like our friends at Westmo or our friends out in North Dakota, wherever you are, we are just glad that we get to spend a little time together today. Today, we are beginning a new series that is appropriately called, Am I Okay? And I'm going to admit something to you. This series is going to take on a little different tone because for the next couple of weeks, we want to pause and we want to ask an honest question. And the question goes like this. Are you ready? The question is this. Are you okay? I mean, really, are you okay? Here's what I know. If I were to see you on the street and ask you, how are you doing? You would probably give me the F word. You would say, I'm fine. Or you would say, I'm busy. Or you would say, things are just great. And from the outside, from all outward appearances, your life probably does look great. Your marriage looks great. Your kids are doing the kid thing. Maybe you're in retirement. Retirement looks great. You're getting the promotions at work. Everything is up and to the right. You, from all outward appearances, things seem, well, they do seem fine. But the truth is, on the inside, maybe for you, I know it's been this way for me sometimes. The truth is, I'm not okay. In fact, there was a season in my life where I was 100% not okay. And I don't know if the people on the outside could actually see it. It was a season in my life where I struggled to get out of bed in the morning. I had to force myself to get out the door. It was a season in my life where every day I felt like I had to put on a mask. You see, right out of college, I married my college sweetheart, and we were married for about 5 years when this pesky call to become a pastor sort of overtook me, and we decided together that I was going to enroll in the seminary, and I was going to become a pastor, and we moved our life from Fargo, North Dakota to Minneapolis. Now, it was just a year into our time in Minneapolis, a year into my studies to become a pastor, that my marriage fell apart. And now, there in the cities, I had left my support network. I had left all my friends. People asked me, how are you doing? And of course, I put on the smiley face. I said, fine, because I was surrounded by all these happy little Christians with their perfect marriages, their perfect kids, their perfect lives, all these perfect Christians who were becoming pastors. I felt like I had to fake it. While inside, I was feeling alone. I was feeling ashamed. I was wondering if if becoming a pastor made sense at all, because who would want a pastor who was divorced? You see, on the outside, everything was fine, but on the inside, it was clear I was not okay. And I know I'm not alone. You've been there. Someone says to you, are you okay? And you say, oh, everything's fine. Well, the truth is, the whole minivan ride to church, you were screaming at your family. How are you doing? Oh, everything's great. Well, the truth is, you haven't spoken to your spouse in weeks. How are you doing? Oh, couldn't be better. Well, the truth is, you're in pain. You're grieving the loss of a pregnancy. How are you doing? Couldn't be better. Everything's fantastic. Well, the truth is, there's something somebody did, a parent or maybe a boyfriend, that they did 10, 20 years ago that still has a hold on you. On the outside, everything's fine, but on the inside, the truth is, I am not okay. In the Bible, there was a guy who came to Jesus, and this guy was clearly, to everyone in the crowd, he was clearly not okay. The story says, when Jesus came down from the mountainside, large crowds followed him. A man with leprosy, he came and knelt before him and said, Lord, if you are willing, you can make me clean. Everyone knew that this man was not okay, because if you had leprosy, there were all kinds of physical features that people could see. You would have lost your hair, your eyebrows. You might be bleeding from your nose profusely. You might have lost fingers. Your hands would certainly be deformed. Your skin color would have changed. There were all these physical features that made it absolutely clear you were not okay. In fact, there's a biblical scholar by the name of Donald Hagner who said no disease was more dreaded in the ancient world than their leprosy, because there were not only the physical effects, there were the social effects of leprosy. You were forced to leave the community that you lived in. By law, you could no longer live in the town and village. So you were immediately separated from your family, from your livelihood, from your friendships. You were like a dead man walking, in a sense. And if you did find yourself amongst people who were healthy as a leper, you were forced to yell, "Unclean, unclean, I'm unclean." Imagine if everywhere you went, you had to yell your problems, huh? I'm a cheater. I cheated on my wife. Huh? I'm a drunk. I've got depression. You see, but this is what that man had to do. But I love what he does. He doesn't hide his condition. He doesn't hide what would have made him seem so unclean to other people. He doesn't hide it. He just comes to Jesus. Unlike you and me, when it comes to our pain, our past, our problems, what do? We hide it. We sort of have this tendency to shove it inside, right? And if you grew up in a kind of community like I did, there was one place where again and again and again, you especially would hide your pains, your problems, your past, and that was the church, right? I mean, because in church, everyone's supposed to be perfect little Christians, right? At church, we're all, because we're followers of Jesus, should have our act together. We should have our finances in order, our family in order. Our kids should be high achieving. Everything should be perfect. And so when we get to church, what do? We tuck our shirts in. We put on our lipstick. We tell our kids, get your act together. And we put on that happy face. But this man doesn't do that. He just comes to Jesus and he doesn't hide any of it. And I love Jesus' response. Don't miss this. It says that Jesus, say this with me, he reached out. Jesus reached out his hand and touched the man. I am willing, he said, be clean. Immediately he was cleansed of his leprosy. Notice this, don't miss this. For Jesus, that very thing that disgusted everyone else, caused them to run, it didn't cause Jesus to move. Jesus was never scared of this man's ailment. Everybody else, they took off running, but Jesus stood there. In fact, Jesus did the very opposite. Jesus leaned in. He reached out. He touched this man. Now, gang, if you learn nothing else, if you hear nothing else over the next few weeks as we walk through this new series, I hope you hear this. Hear this. We have a God who in Jesus, when God looks at you, here's what he wants you to know. He wants you to know it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to be not okay. And here at Calvary, here's what we want. We want to be known as a church, and I'm guessing your church wants this too. You want to be known as a church where it's okay to be not okay. Would you say that with me? It's okay to be not okay. And so as we kick off this series over the next couple of weeks, we want to hold the Bible in one hand, and in the other, we want to hold the hard stuff that people like you and me, we actually wrestle with. So over the next few weeks, we're going to talk about things like anxiety. Why? Because 1 in 3 adolescents struggle with anxiety. We're going to talk about depression. Why? Because 1 in 4 adults are affected by depression in one way or another. We're also going to talk about burnout, because in our hyper-connected, hyper-speed, going all the time lifestyle, you and me, we often feel as though we are at the end of our rope. But in the little time I have left with you today, I want to talk with you about something that I think causes us, all of us, to pause and wonder, am I okay? It's those things from our past that have this way of building up. We may call them scars. Now, I don't know about you, but I've got several scars. Some of us, we have scars on the outside of our body, right? I had that time as a kid where I was playing with my dad's fishing knife, almost cut my finger off. I got into a fray with a cat when I was a kid, and so I have this big old scar on my thigh where the cat clawed me. In high school, I was injured, and so I had knee surgery. So I've got this cool scar on my knee from a knee surgery. And here's what I know. Some of us, we have scars. And maybe you have scars on the outside of your body. Some of us, we have scars on the outside. But listen to this. But we all have scars on the inside. Who? We all. Would you say we all? We all. And that includes you. There was that heartbreak you experienced. There was that loss. Maybe there was that abuse. There was that wound in your childhood, that wound from that previous marriage or relationship. We all have wounds, and here's what happens. Those wounds create scars, and those scars we carry around with us every day of our lives. When I was 10 years old, a little boy, my mom, she had a doctor's appointment, and I didn't think anything of it. My dad took her to the doctor, and and the next day when I got home, my dad met me at the door, and he said to me, he said, "Hans, just so you know, Mom's going to spend a couple nights at the hospital." And I didn't think too much of it because my mom was a diabetic, a severe diabetic, and she would have occasional hospital visits. But it was a couple days later that my dad came home and said, "Hey, Hans, Grandma and Grandpa are going to come and stay with you and your brother and your sister for a few days because, Mom, the doctor says that Mom should go to the Mayo Clinic. There's some really great doctors there who want to take a look at what's going on inside her body." And again, I didn't think too much of it because, well, my mom occasionally had to go to Rochester for checkups. But it was a few days later, in the middle of a December snowstorm in North Dakota, that we got a call. And I remember my grandparents, when they got off the phone, they hastily packed bags and they shoved us into their car. And we took off for Rochester. And the snowstorm, it was so bad we had to pull off. And we actually ended up spending the night in a little motel in Barnesville, North Dakota. And it was there, on that stormy December night, that we got a call in that little hotel room that my mother had passed away. You better believe that left a wound in my life that created a scar. And that scar I carry around with me every day of my life. And you know what I'm talking about. You have your own scars. Psychologists suggest that there are sort of 3 different kinds of wounds or different kinds of trauma that create scars inside of all of us. For example, there's acute trauma, acute wounds. It's that one-time event. There was that accident. There was that loss. There was that time that thing happened. You were fired, or maybe, God forbid, you were raped. It's that one-time event, that acute trauma. And it causes wounds that leave scars that you carry around every day of your life. There are also those sorts of chronic trauma sorts of events. There are those ongoing events. Maybe for you, you grew up in a home where there was abuse. Maybe it was sexual abuse, physical abuse, or maybe it was mental abuse. Maybe you've experienced racism in your life. You've been bullied. All of those are forms of chronic trauma that create those wounds. And those wounds form scars that we carry with us. But then there's also this third type that's called complex trauma. And that's when we have multiple acute events and we have ongoing chronic trauma. And Lord only knows what that is like. And some of you maybe grew up in homes where it just felt like chaos. And your trauma is ongoing. Now, sometimes people ask me, those scars from your mother passing, what sort of effects do you think they've had on your life? And I always find that a little bit difficult to answer because there are other things that happened because of that sort of make it complicated. But there were certainly messages that I told myself at a young age. For example, my mom dying when I was 10, I remember feeling as though I had to be more responsible. I had to take more, I had to be more of an individual. I had to kind of pick myself up by the bootstraps because my mom was no longer there. I had to help my dad. A couple of years later, my dad would remarry and call it right, call it wrong. But as a little boy, the way I processed that is it felt as though I was sort of abandoned by my father. And then because of that remarriage, we would end up moving several times. And each time we would move, I'd have to start over when it came to friendships. And over time, the message that created, that printed on my life, is that you are alone. And when I'm not at my best, even today, I have to fight off that message. But that's what these wounds do. They create scars that imprint on us, and they create sort of soundtracks that we repeat again and again in our life. Maybe for you, you grew up in a home where there was no money, right? And so to this day, regardless of what's in your checkbook, you are anxious about money. Or maybe when you were young, as a small child, somebody did something to you. They took advantage of you. And so as an adult with your own kids, nobody is ever going to touch your kids. Or maybe you failed at something along the way. You were fired. You were kicked off the team. And so there's this soundtrack that plays. I'm a failure. I'm not good enough. I'm damaged. I'm broken. So my question then is, what do we do with all this? Like, what does our faith speak into this? Or to put it another way, like, how do we heal? In the Bible, there was a guy by the name of Paul, and to all outward appearances, he had it all together. He wrote more of the New Testament than anyone else. He started more churches than anybody else. You would think he was this hero of faith, but the truth is he experienced more trauma than anyone else in the Bible. He began his life persecuting Christians, hunting them down. He killed Christians. But he had this day where a light flashed and it knocked him to the ground. We might suggest that maybe it was lightning that hit him. And there on the ground, he heard this voice from heaven that said, "Paul, why are you persecuting me?" And he was left blind for 3 days. Talk about trauma. But when he awoke from that blindness, he went from a passionate persecutor of Christians to a passionate follower of Jesus. But everywhere he went, he was chased by his enemies. He was abused by his enemies. He would be thrown in jail. He'd be shipwrecked. He experienced all this trauma. But in the letters he writes, he speaks to how we might heal from our trauma. He wrote to the Christians in Corinthians. In the 2 Corinthians, he wrote this: "We were under great pressure." Some of you have scars from your past that have you living under this sort of great pressure. We were under great pressure far beyond our ability to endure, so that we despaired of life itself. What is Paul doing here? He's doing this. He's naming it. He's naming that things aren't right. And for you, maybe you have never named your scars. Somebody did something to me when I was a child and it just wasn't right. I failed at this and I've been ashamed for most of my life. Somebody abused me. I did this thing and I am forever ashamed. You've never named it. And so Paul says, find somebody you trust. Maybe it's your spouse. Maybe it's a trusted counselor. You gotta name it. Because here's what we often do. We often sort of guard. Rather than sharing what's going on, we guard. And here's what happens. We end up isolating ourselves. And if we know one thing, we don't heal in isolation. God created us in such a way that we heal in community with other people. Because when other people carry a part of that load, it lightens the load. That's why Here at our church, what we do is we try and get people into groups, because when you have your group of people, they help lighten the load. Paul invites us to name it. Find someone we trust and name it. The second thing Paul invites us to do, and this may sound like something a pastor is supposed to say, but bear with me, it's to take it to God. When Paul writes, he talks about how he has a thorn. And I think all of us, we don't know exactly what he was talking about, this thorn, but I think all of us know what it's like to walk around with a bit of a thorn. Some of you, if you're in church, you might be sitting by your thorn, if you know what I mean. But all of us have this thorn. And again, Paul talks about how he brought it to God. 3 times, he says, I pleaded with the Lord to take it away from me. But he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. If you have ever tried to take your scars to God, you know this, that we have a God who can't change your past. But God can, through God's grace, change your perspective. God can change your life moving forward, help you see the future in different ways. It's God's grace that allows us to take a step forward. You see, Paul invites us, you got to name it. And then he invites us, take it to God, because God's grace will carve us a path forward. And lastly, Paul invites us, and you may not be ready for this. If you haven't named it yet, if you haven't taken it to God and gone down that road of healing, you are definitely not ready for this. But here's what eventually can happen, is that we can find purpose in pain. We can find purpose in our pain. And maybe you're not ready for this yet. Paul wrote these words. He says, praise be to the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Father of all compassion and the God of all comfort, who comforts us in our troubles. Read this with me. So that we can comfort those in any trouble with the comfort we ourselves receive from God. My divorce, my mother passing, here's what I know. God didn't cause those things to happen. In fact, sometimes people say it's all part of God's plan. Everything happens for a reason. Here's what you need to know. That's all garbage. God didn't cause that to happen. But as I have gotten healthier, here's what God has done. God has given me the privilege of using those experiences to help others who are going through those experiences. And the same can be true for you. We find purpose in our pain. Paul says, name it, tell somebody, get it out, allow somebody else to carry your burden, take it to God. And finally, you will one day find purpose in that pain. Gang, today, here's what you need to know. If you hear nothing else, would you hear this? That for God, it's okay to be not okay. We want to be a church that is known for us being a community of people who know that for God, it's okay to be not okay. Now, would you do something for me? Would you look around the room? There are other people in the room, I'm guessing. Would you look at them? Let me let you in on a little secret. They may look really good today. In fact, some of them look really, really good, don't they? But here's the truth. They're just like you. They've been wounded. They have scars from their past. And though they look good on the outside, they might even say, no, I'm fine. They're just like you. And here's what I love. We have a God who says it's okay to be not okay.
All this pain, I wonder if I'll ever find my way. I wonder if my life could really change at all. All this earth, could all that is lost ever be found? Could a garden come up from this ground at all? things. You make beautiful things out of dust. You make beautiful things. You make beautiful things out of us. All around, hope is springing up from this old ground. Out of chaos, life is being found in you. You make beautiful things. You make beautiful things out of dust. You make beautiful things. You make beautiful things out of us. Oh, you make beautiful things. You make beautiful things out of us. You make beautiful things. You make beautiful things out of us.
You make me new. You are making me new. You make me new. You are making me new. You make me new. You are making me new. You make me new. You are making me new.
You make beautiful things. You make beautiful things out of dust. You make beautiful things. You make beautiful things out of us.
As we close our time together, I want to invite you to join me as together we pray the prayer our Lord taught us. Together we pray, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Hey gang, we're so honored you chose to spend a little of your day with us. If you are new to Calvary, I want to speak directly to you. We are so honored that you are jumping on board with us today. And here's what I'd invite you to do. Would you take a little next step with us? Would you head out to our website, calvaryalec.org. There, if you hit the button that says sign up for emails, we will each Friday shoot you a little note that just shares all the things that are going on here at Calvary. It's our little way of connecting with you, taking a next step, and we'd love for you to do that. Before you go, I've got some friends, the Halter kids, Maddie, Emma, and Briggs, and they are going to share Calvary's top 3 for this week.
Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in for Calvary's Top 3. My name is Briggs Halter and these are my sisters, Maddie and Emma.
Calvary's mission is to lead all people to a lifelong faith in Jesus Christ, and we've been a part of Calvary's community for our entire lives. From baptism and kids programs to confirmation and the houseboat trip, and Wednesday nights at Epic and volunteering for VBS. It's been a blast. What I valued most about my experience of growing up here was the church family I gained. I have so many mentors, role models, and friends, all from Calvary, and so many experiences that have shaped me into who I am today.
Now, Maddie and I are both in college, and we've found ways for our faith to continue growing. Last summer, I worked at Flathead Lutheran Bible Camp in the Rocky Mountains of western Montana. I chose to spend my summer there as a Bible camp counselor because of the people I'd be with and because of the opportunity for adventure. The experience was so amazing, and it allowed me to grow deeper in my faith alongside the people I met while being there. And this coming summer, Maddie is joining me on staff.
We both spent time as campers at Luther Crest Bible Camp here in Alexandria when we were younger. And now I'm excited to work at Flathead also, to grow my faith even further, get out of my comfort zone, and experience something totally different from everything else, and meet some cool people who love Jesus just like us.
And I may not be old enough to work at Bible camp yet, but I finally get to go on the houseboat trip this summer. I am so looking forward to meeting new people and hanging with the people that I trust.
Here at Calvary, you often hear us say that the faith of the next generation is worth everything. And today's top 3 are all focused on the church's commitment to growing faith across all generations.
Number 1, Vacation Bible School is one of the best weeks at the summer of Calvary. This year's VBS is August 4th through the 7th, and the theme is Live It Out. It's a fun week of music, games, crafts, and Bible stories where kids will discover how to love like Jesus. Scan the QR code to get your kids or grandkids signed up today.
Number 2, did you know it takes more than 200 adult and student volunteers to bring VBS to the 500 plus kids who signed up each year? Whether you're curious about volunteering or ready to dive in, the volunteer rally on May 4th is a great place to start. We'll have prizes, food, and a whole lot of Calvary fun as we help summer volunteers get ready for everything from VBS to Calvary at the Lake. I chose to volunteer while I was in high school because it made me feel more a part of the church and its mission, and I got to help the littles grow deeper and explore in their own faith.
And number 3, during the next few weeks, Calvary's houseboat students will be at worship to do 2 things. First, to say thank you for all the ways you've taught and supported us so far in our faith journeys. And second, to invite you to take stock in the future of Calvary's youth. Check this out!
Calvary, I want to say thank you. Ever since I was a little baby, you invested in me. You showed me that you cared. I knew that I was safe, valued, and loved.
You celebrated with me at my baptism. You took great care of me in the nursery.
You taught me the stories of Jesus when I was in preschool, and we even dug deeper in elementary school.
We had so much fun together at Vacation Bible School. I still sing the songs in my head every day. I made friendships that will last my whole life.
You taught me how to be a leader, how to serve others with kindness and compassion. You nurtured my biggest faith questions and made a safe place for me to explore my doubts.
You brought me mentors and small group guides to help me on my faith journey. You gave me the chance to explore the world God made. You invested in my faith. Thank you.
Calvary, would you invest in the faith of the next generation? Would you invest in kids and students like me?
This month, we're looking for stockholders to invest in our faith journeys. Shares are $50, and they support Calvary's kids and students in programs like the high school houseboat trip, Vacation Bible School, and Bible Camp.
Please visit a table in the hub or donate on Calvary's website.
Your investment matters more than you'll ever know.
Thank you for investing in us.
Thank you for investing in us.
Thank you for investing in us.
We're truly grateful for the ways Calvary has invested in us and in our faith.
Thank you!
Wasn't that great? Thank you, Emma, Maddie, and Briggs. As we close our time together today, I want to say thank you. Start by saying thank you for your generosity. It's because of your generosity that Calvary this last week, as we celebrated Easter, reached literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people's lives. And so at this time, we invite you to make your offerings. You can make them in any of the ways on the screen. The easiest is probably to head out to our website, calvaryalec.org, hit the button that says give, and there I want to encourage you to consider a reoccurring gift, or maybe you'll just make a one-time gift today. You can also make a gift using that app on your phone, Venmo. You can cut a check, drop it to the address on the screen, or if you're not quite certain how to make your gift, just give us a call. We'd love to talk to you about the generous life that God calls each and every one of us to. Gang, thank you for worshiping with us today. Have a good one.